We discussed earlier a little right-wing civil war. Now we have even more where Piers Morgan, who cozied up to the MAGA crew, the pro-Trump people, so much. And now he's having beef with some of them. Now, a part of this, it started with him beefing with Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro stopped going on his show and then was criticizing Piers Morgan. Then Dave Rubin jumped into the mix, who used to be like a regular guy on Piers Morgan's show, but apparently he stopped going on Piers Morgan's show. So then Piers is lashing out at them. A lot of this has to do with Piers becoming more, at least this is Piers' argument, critical of the Israeli government, and Rubin and Shapiro being much more pro-Israel. But that's kind of a story we've been following, how the right is fractured along that line, as is the left. But it went into an area I never thought it would go, which is them accusing each other of just chasing clicks. It shifted into Ben Shapiro being like, oh yeah, well, Piers, you don't even do good journalism. Your show is just showmanship and it's just for people to scream at each other. And it's like, yeah, from y'all? From Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro? Ben, whenever I'm talking to someone and I go, do you know Ben Shapiro? And they're like, no. I go, do you know the person that you saw on TikTok who went, wet ass P word, about the Cardi B song? And they're like, oh, yeah, I know Ben Shapiro. And Dave Rubin, I go, do you know Dave Rubin? They go, no. And I go, well, yeah, I don't know how to explain him. Do you know the... All right, no, I don't know how to explain it. So now that's where this argument has led to, is Shapiro... Rubin saying that Piers is platforming bad guests just for clicks, and then Piers being like, oh yeah, well, you're doing it.
You right now.
I'm mocking you.
And it was brought to my attention that he was very upset about a debate last week featuring Dave Smith.
So last night on Piers Morgan, which is the Jerry Springer of political television, where people gather to throw chairs at one another and determine paternity. Piers Morgan, who has sort of made a mockery of the entire industry by putting on screen whatever dregs are still willing to go on screen with Piers Morgan.
True. I'm one of them. You reviewed the Barbie movie. Let's calm down with this. You have made a mockery of political commentary. All of these influencers do very embarrassing things or create very WWE type debate for the sake of clicks. That's just what happens, especially in the right wing. But even a lot of liberal influencers lower their standards for the sake of notoriety. Just the quickest pause for the video amid all of this chaos. If you do appreciate these updates, please click the subscribe button, click the like button. Both of those are completely free, but subscribe is the most important to support what we do. Back to the video.
He had on Dave Smith, who has, apparently his job is never to tell jokes, but to instead give poorly informed foreign policy takes. And also to hate America. Here we go.
Well, first, Jerry Springer was a very good friend of mine, and he was a beloved...
I'd love to see that. Tony Lapidus, who came on and did the Tucker impression, I'd love him do it back and forth between Ben Shapiro and Piers.
Well, you're just bringing on the worst dregs of society that will go on your godforsaken show.
Well, excuse me. Hang on. Jerry Springer was a good buddy of mine. It's like, you're both so crazy. Hey, with love to everybody. However you talk, however anything is great. We love it.
Well, first, Jerry Springer was a very good friend of mine, and he was a beloved national treasure who actually hosted one of the most successful shows in television history and became a media mogul worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So thank you for that comparison, Ben. Second, we proudly host lively debates on things that people care about, featuring guests that people care about, to cover both sides of complex news stories in an engaging way. Do the debates sometimes get a bit combative? Yes. Do audiences tend to enjoy a bit of theatrical rough and tumble? Of course they do. That's why the Daily Wire, Ben's company, has an entire political debate show which is literally called Bar Fight. That's why Ben's own show features hard-hitting segments including Ben Shapiro destroys celebrity ice reactions. Ben Shapiro destroys the Golden Globes. Ben Shapiro reacts to woke TikToks.
If you're Ben Shapiro, you can't go for... call out whoever you want to call out, go to war with them, not literally, but I mean, you're also advocating for war literally, so okay. But it's never going to go well for you to use as one of your criticisms that someone's doing too much rage bait or clickbait or showmanship, or that it's more of a performance than a substantive debate. When, like, as he's listing off there, some of your most viral segments are green hair liberal thinks she's non-binary. Ben Shapiro wrecks her.
Shapiro reacts to woke socialist TikToks. Ben Shapiro reacts to woke religious TikToks. And when it comes to humiliating the industry, please tell me why the Pulitzer Prize Committee did not reward Mr. Shapiro for this masterpiece.
What the Run.
Podcast listeners, this is a shot of Ben Shapiro burning a bunch of Barbies because Barbie went woke.
You could say that makes a mockery of the industry. Third, I want to examine the charge that I've committed a sin against journalism by hosting what Ben Shapiro describes as whatever dregs are still willing to appear on my show. Well, on the subject of Iran and US foreign policy specifically, recent guests have included Masih Alinejad, Lisa Daftari, Patrick Bet-David, Carlos.
So he goes on to show that he's hosted pro-Israel voices and anti-Israel voices. He goes on to review, it's like, multiple more minutes, so we can't play it all here, but he goes on to review Ben Shapiro saying that he's platforming like Nazi voices, one of them being Nick Fuentes. Piers argues, but he was pushing back against those voices, etc. Right? So that's where it goes off into. But then Dave Rubin jumps into the mix and posts this. I explained to Piers Morgan to his face why I won't do his panel shows anymore. And it's a similar, like, this is WWE debate. This isn't real substance, which is funny coming from Dave Rubin. Rubin wouldn't know substance if it smacked him across the face.
I will be completely, totally honest with you. About 8 months ago,
To be clear, I agree with this criticism of the style of debates that will happen on a Piers type show. Not even the criticism, the recognition. Does anyone think like, 5 people being on a panel together, all shouting is definitely going to be a substantive debate? No. You go on because you're like, bah, but that's fine. I go on, it's kind of fun. You're like, woo! That's not the setting where you think you're going to get the needle to move for one of the other panelists. Now, it is an opportunity for someone like me who's liberal to show up in front of a more conservative audience and maybe make them go, the little moments that he got to speak before Piers Morgan cut him off, he was making some good points. Maybe I'll go look at what he has to say. And I think we've heard from people where they've seen me in one of those like performance debate type settings, right? Like Jubilee or a bar fight or Piers Morgan. And then they've looked into more of the content where we're able to do more thought out substantive stuff and their mind has been changed. So it's not completely worthless, just to be clear. But the whole like recognizing that a lot of it is performance and people getting sound bites is true. So it's not me saying that being called out is wrong. But number one, acting like you had this realization and now I just can't go on that show. You were going on that show for that reason, but then for some reason you stopped wanting to go on. That's the big thing, which is fine. And you engage in that exact type of behavior. So you're all a bunch of hypocrites.
I will be completely, totally honest with you. About 8 months ago, I basically said to myself, I don't want to do Piers' show anymore because the way the debates go, all of the people, the screaming, the lunatics, the jank and these awful people where you have a certain set of people largely on the right who come on that are thoughtful and can explain their ideas and wajat and all these nutbags. And I really swore it off. And then I did do it again.
I've never heard that phrase before. Nutbags. I've never heard someone describing someone else as a nutbag. That's so, like, too descriptive. A nutbag. Ugh. It's too visual.
Their ideas and wajat and all these nutbags. And I really swore it off. And then I did do it again. I did it the day after Charlie died, and I had to demolish Cenk the way I did with receipts. But I view it now as it's adding flame. It's just adding fuel to the fire, that nothing good is coming out of it. And in a weird way, I don't mean that as a knock to you. I mean it maybe as a knock to what the internet has become. What do you make of it?
Well, I think
so. For example, if you ask me right now, Dave, you want to come on my show for a one-on-one interview the other way, or
The definition of nutbag Jaden has pulled up for us is an odd, eccentric, or insane person, or the scrotum.
even for maybe a one-person debate, which I did it with you in person in London, which with that socialist, and I enjoyed that. But the other thing I think has now become something that is not helping. That's just my opinion.
No, I think it's perfectly fair criticism, and I've seen criticism of my show where people say you're the Jerry Springer of political debate because you just want people fighting all the time. It's not true, actually. I don't like it when it becomes too much of a circus. I don't like it when people shout over each other because the viewer can't really understand what's happening. I do like fiery, passionate debate.
I don't believe you, Piers, that you don't like when it's a circus. I'm very biased because every single time I've gone on, except for once, I have been interrupted, I think, more quickly and more often than any guest that goes on there. It's strange. I watch even other liberal, and here's why. Do you want to know why? You really want to know why? I'll tell you. I'll leak the secret. It's because I'm too reasonable. Now that sounds like a joke, and handsome. No, it's because he'll let a liberal, if they kind of are spiraling, he'll let them talk, and then let a right winger come in and be like, rah. But I think the points that I'll make kind of irk him because he knows he agrees with them deep in his heart. Whenever I call out like his ridiculous support of Trump during the campaign and how he ran cover for him and did silly content to defend him. That's not me like portraying the archetype of a silly liberal. That's like making a very true point that he knows is kind of embarrassing. So then he cuts off. That's why I think. And so that makes me biased to think it's a circus. I'll still go on though. It's still kind of like whatever, woo. But you have to know what it is. But then sometimes it exposes you to a different audience and someone actually hears out your point a little bit later. And as just when you think, I'm not being like self-centered and thinking I get cut off a lot. All the comments on my most recent appearance, or a bunch of them from Piers Morgan viewers, were, why wouldn't you let Trump or Luke? Why wouldn't you let Luke finish a sentence? Like that's how bad it got. Oh gosh. So they are being it's kind of the wrong people to be criticizing each other in that way on. But then you have Piers Morgan saying 4 months ago, I drove out to do Ruben's podcast at his home in Miami, that clip you saw, as a personal favor, lol, because he's done my show many times. I thought we were friends. How wrong could I be? What a treacherous little weasel. Being Netanyahu's useful idiot has sent him and Shapiro nuts. To which Ruben responds, oh dear, Piers just posted this and blocked me. He can dish it, but he can't take it. I would have thought more highly of an esteemed British tabloid journalist. And so this slop fest is getting there. And finally you have Piers Morgan posting this photo with him and Ben Shapiro. And he's edited Shapiro to look really, really small. And he says, if you come for the British king, Ben Shapiro, you best not miss. Oh, it's all so cringy. Do any of the right-wingers like each other anymore? I feel like all of them are fighting each other. Whew.